Hello if you're new and welcome back if you're just coming back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. My name is CBH4K and this is Total War Warhammer 3. And the devs are talking about Norska and the Tides of Torment. Let's just get into it. Because, yeah, let's just start. Also, don't forget to subscribe.
Hey folks, welcome back to What's Next. I'm Freeman, your head of community,
hey,
and I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about what's coming in Tides of Torment, which releases later this summer. And I'm not doing this alone, of course. I'm joined by members of our development team who are here today to take you behind the curtain and talk to you a little bit about what it is we've got cooking.
Try and keep up with the name, shall we? This is Adam Freeman.
So let's start with some introductions, and of course we'll start with the person who probably needs the least introduction. But Todor, tell the people about yourself.
So, my name is Todor, and I am the game director.
Game director. Okay, so he's basically head of the design. I like the beard design he's got going on right now. So that's pretty cool. Pretty
of the Warhammer 3 DLC. I've been doing that for the past several months. Before that, I was the game director of Total War Pharaoh. Previously, I worked on Total War Troy, and even before that, on the DLCs for Rome 2. And over here is...
Thank you, Toshe. My name is Tuyan. I am currently the art director and concept lead for the Warhammer DLC. Previously, I was the art director for Troy Mythos, and Pharaoh.
And sitting to my right, we have...
And with a great passion for Total War and Warhammer, my name is Vasil, and I'm leading the Tides of Torment DLC. And I've previously spent some time dabbling in Pharaoh.
And
so, like, basically the old team from Pharaoh is back.
This What's Next episode, we're going to be very excited to talk about that next faction that we've revealed recently in the Skulls.
If you see my Pharaoh video, leave a comment in the comment section if you've seen my Pharaoh video. Say, yeah, I saw it. We say about those stuff.
Event, we'll get to that in a moment, but elsewhere we're also going to be talking about some of the reworks that we've got going on. There's one we actually missed in our last video, so stick around. And we'll also be talking to Stoyan as well about some of the art of our game and how much work goes into bringing it to life. But Todor, let's give you the first question and the first honor, of course. Who is that next faction and next faction leader we're bringing to the game?
Thank you for the honor. The faction and the race both are very dear to my own heart, because I'm a fan of those hardy people in the north that live right on the edge of the chaotic influence, the Norskans. Yes, we're adding a new legendary lord to the Norskans. His name is Sail the Faithless. He's a powerful spellcaster.
Alright, let's look at the design here. He's got a tentacle hand, plus a regular hand. Also, he's got one of the Norscan helmets, and I've been told you can't just take their armor off. It sort of becomes a part of you. Interesting. Nice little skull, nice little sword. It's like a bag full of stuff.
Unlike the other legendary lords, he's not one to always lead from the front and try to proving his physical might and his prowess and his bravery. He's all about manipulating those around him and making sure that they believe he's their friend, after which he betrays them. And based on these treacheries, he builds and builds his power, ever growing. This, of course,
let's speculate that a little bit. What does that mean? That means he is good at diplomacy, maybe. Maybe he's good at public order. Maybe a combination of both.
Leads to him slowly getting surrounded by enemies, but, you know, this is the price he had to pay.
He's gonna search for power
So, okay, so it sounds like he's gonna cause good public order at the beginning, maybe bad public order and diplomacy later on as they realize that he's betraying them.
across the world in terms of be it chaos or not so much for himself. And he's going to be a great spellcaster. He will possess 2 spell lores for the players to choose from, and that's going to be a bit of an experimentation. It's going to give him a lot of versatility as one of the most powerful spellcasters in the game.
Now, we mentioned as we were talking about...
Now, you say that, but I... Whenever you say something like that, you gotta make sure it's actually going to land. Now, I know the team from Total War Pharaoh was pretty good and pretty solid. they're a good and effective team. The problem I think I have with that promise they just made is it needs to be a good spellcaster, because the spellcasters are already pretty good. A lot of them are kind of OP in the game, if you ask some people, because you can just wipe out an entire army with some well-timed spells and a good spellcaster.
Sale there that there's a lot of manipulation in his realm, and we've had some elements of this with different gameplay factions that we've introduced in the past, such as the Changeling. How is it that it differs to that type of manipulation that we introduced there?
So Sale is quite different from the Changeling, as he's closer to an ordinary faction. Like, he's a Norscan, he can occupy settlements, he can also raise settlements and dedicate them to the various...
So, okay, so Changeling already has the skill set. So he's basically going to copy-paste what Changeling does and probably does a better version of it. I don't know. We'll see.
Chaos Gods. But there is a special feature you will use to plan, execute, and reap the rewards from your treacheries. Like, initially, we explored a kind of a more rework of how diplomacy system works, but this is kind of a dangerous thing to do to a live game, and this is why we opted for a specific feature to cover the betrayal part of Sale, which is the major part of him.
Diplomacy is a very prominent legacy feature. It's similar to treacherous waters that we try to navigate very cautiously, as it could bring a lot of fallback after it if something unfortunately breaks or changes too significantly. So we've worked around making Sale's betrayal feel natural for him, so it's represented properly as a treacherous person, and his flavor is felt by the players, but doesn't clash too far with the diplomatic system that's already within the game.
Well, we've got an awesome roster that's planned out for this faction. We're not going to talk about...
They didn't really say too much in there, so I don't know what to expect or what to really tell you, but they basically say it's going to be like a different system, maybe, or they're going to enhance the current systems. It might do a little bit of both, a little bit of... Well, again, we'll have to see. They kept it vague. I think they want to surprise. I think they might have did something very unique for it. Maybe. Notice I said maybes and perhapses. Those are not like, yeah, they're going to do a great job. Like,
all of it today, but we can maybe give a sneak peek at some of the units that we've been working on. So Vasil, talk us through some of these very headline units that we've got.
So where should we start? Well, clearly the expectations fall first on Sale. As we mentioned, he's going to be the great spellcaster, and he also is very familiar with a pal of his named the Night Maul. Night Maul is a very unique, very special looking creature. For those unfamiliar, it consists of a few of Sale's unfortunate sorcerer pals that got fused into one single entity. And in our interpretation of the Night Maul within the...
That does not look pleasant. Yeah, that does not look like a pleasant creature to be or to have attack you.
Game, it's going to be an ability that Sale's going to be able to cast towards his unsuspecting and unfortunate targets. During the process of development, the Night Maul proved incredibly challenging in various technical aspects. So that was one of the more driving reasons for us to go towards that approach. But talking about how the Night Maul looks, I think that Stoyan can share a little bit more as well.
Yeah, the Night Maul is actually a very different looking creature compared to the rest of the roster. So we enjoyed a lot creating this thing, exploring all the...
So it's going to be like a summon, maybe a vortex spell, maybe something like that. Well, we'll see.
Warhammer lore, and trying to make it possible for the game, because, of course, especially for the animation team, the challenge is multiplied by the extra limbs and mutations the character may have. And yeah, it was very fun to make it.
I'm guessing it's not something we can really mocap, is it?
No, not really. We tried to mocap it up, but it's difficult to keep all the people together, so it kind of feels natural, so we kind of gave it up.
Okay, so we've talked about the Night Maul. Then the roster, what else do we have on there?
Another addition to the Norscan roster is the Fimir Noble. It's an addition to the Fimir family, which we already have in Warhammer 3. Mm-hmm. And the Fimir are known to walk in the shadows, to use magic to their advantage, and to surprise their unsuspecting prey. And the noble will be no different. He's going to benefit from that as well. And also, as a hero character, other Fimir present in the game will benefit from his presence in battle in various situations. So they can use him in conjunction with them, but also with other monsters and creatures in the Norscan roster.
Any more we want to talk about today?
Let me think a little bit about.
This may add a little buff to the Norskins. That's an extra hero, and also it makes the femur. I forgot the lizard creature people. It makes them much more. How do I put this? Much more viable to play, because not a lot of people talked about putting them in their armies. Though I think some people use them, but with the noble, that might enhance their abilities. We'll see.
About it. We can talk a little bit about the Chimera. So we're also adding a Chimera, the three-headed monster that I imagine it comes to no surprise to most, unfortunately. But it's a very vicious flying creature, versatile in combat, is going to be able to get in and out of battle very quickly. And its three heads will possess 3 different attacks that will also give it a little bit more zest in how it engages with other creatures and characters on the battlefield. And of course, there's going to be other secrets, but we're going to keep them for later.
And onto the Chimera, there is a little known biological fact that it has 4 heads, because its tail is also a head.
True. That is absolutely true.
Tail's also a head.
Okay, well, do make sure that you are, of course, subscribed and following us everywhere, because we do have more of this roster to reveal. But later, you know. Now, it's been some time since we've had the opportunity to update Norska, but when we go back to looking at one of these factions that haven't been updated in a while and brought in line with those new standards that we kind of have, what's the first type of thing that we look at for this faction?
So yeah, as you said, the Norskans have been in there for quite a while. We've been hearing people...
Yes, a very long while. I haven't really played Norscan in years. Let's just say that. Like, they have been so underrepresented. Like, I don't think anyone really plays Norscan. They might look at it, but usually everyone plays Chaos or Chaos Warriors.
Saying, just please update them. They're in need of love. And we've decided to give them this kind of love right now. There are 2 types of updates that we're making to the Norskans. One of those is related to their racial mechanics, but we're also doing some faction-specific ones. So in terms of racial mechanics, we're changing the way the monsters' arcanum work. This is a favorite change of mine because it makes it kind of more relevant to what I'm doing in my campaign. We're also updating the way Chaos Gods Allegiance work, and also the dilemmas related to Confederation. We're a bit expanding them. In terms of faction-specific stuff, we are changing the way Seafang works for Wolfric. Seafang is his signature ship, and currently he is available in the game only as a battle ability, but we have extended his presence to the campaign map. So right now we're using Seafang. We'll provide you with an easier means of transport, crossing vast distances from port to port, which will likely turn you into this ultimate raiding machine that we're going for, the flavor of Wolf.
That will help them out a great deal. Wolfric will be way better now because he'll be able to go different places across the map. He won't just be stuck in one area. He'll be everywhere. If you do it right, you'll make Seafang one of the most feared abilities in the game's campaign map, because you'll be jumping from place to place, fighting lizardmen, fighting Empire, fighting literally anything and everyone at the drop of a hat. So you'll go fight the elves for a bit, the high elves. You give them a nice surprise, then you can surprise the dark elves afterwards. It'll be much more fun campaign because you'll be able to go literally everywhere.
Frick. And as for Throg, so...
Throg is an interesting case where he's the Troll King a little bit more on paper, at least that's how we saw it in the current example. And as Todor mentioned, we've tried to pushing the flavor for other Norse faction, not just Throg. So one of the factors that we looked through when we did these reworks is to make them feel distinct of each other. Wulfric, Throg, and Sail. Wulfric being more the marauding side. Sail, the diplomatic manipulator, and Throg, the monster king that expands his kingdom in destroying things around him, basically. He's going to remain on his present position, but we've adjusted him with an additional mechanic that where he's going to be able to utilize his influence towards other monsters, and trolls more in particular, and call their power, one might say, in order to aid him in battle and aid him in his further conquests. Another interesting addition that it's also worth saying is that we're adding
either a battle map summons or campaign map summons. That probably might be it. It might be more.
A few more hunts within the Monsters Arcanum. So there's going to be more monsters to hunt, there's going to be more creatures to seek, and more rewards to reap.
And another tiny but significant update is that both Throg and Wulfric are getting an additional set of voice lines. Especially for Throg, it was important to convey the fact that as he is a troll that's being touched by chaos, he's also a more intelligent kind of troll. Perhaps the most intelligent troll in existence.
So a whole new VA has been recorded for these then?
Yeah.
We saw that Wulfric and Throg were lacking VOs from the original game, as they're one of the more older factions within Warhammer. But also, we've heard the comments about Throg's previous VOs, and we completely agree with it, actually, and decided to redo completely Throg and update Wulfric to be brought in line with the current state of what.
Now, that is amazing. They're going to update their entire voice lines. That will help, again. Like little tweaks like that, or for presentation, really help a game grow in terms of being more entertaining to the player. Because let's be honest, we're a very aesthetic species. We like things to look nice. We like for things to sound nice. If they don't sound nice or look nice or etc., well then we're just gonna be like, oh, this is ugly. Ew. Want out of here.
Warhammer is today.
Okay, well, awesome. I'm glad that you guys have had the opportunity to do that. I know it's something that you guys have been asking for quite a lot on the Reddits and the forums. In the last What's Next video, we kind of forgot to talk about the Dakala and Slaanesh reworks that we're also trying to bring. So when it comes to Slaanesh, what are the things that we've looked to update there?
Slaanesh is an interesting case where they were represented just by Nkari currently, and we wanted to make the new faction in terms of Dakala and Nkari feel distinct from each other, but also supplement what Slaanesh does right now. And while it does it fairly well, we've updated a few systems to bring them more into up to speed with the current trends that we've used.
I don't know, but I think. Okay, Khorne is the most liked because a lot of people because Khorne is very simple. Right after that, I don't think Tzeentch is. I think maybe Tzeentch. Then in third place, maybe Slaanesh. Nurgle might be last. I tried a Nurgle playthrough and I don't know, man. I didn't connect with Nurgle.
In other reworks, so that applies towards the technology trees. We've looked towards the proliferation of codes to make it a little bit more functionally usable in terms of their current strategies and what they aim to achieve right now on the map. And also we've looked how to improve and tweak some of the more controversial aspects of Slaaneshi benefits, for example, their replenishment and also their usability in terms of battle and the stats there.
Okay, well, there you have it then. Sail and the Norska are our next faction that you can look forward to when this next DLC launches later this summer. Now, unless you've been living under a mangler squig, you probably saw the Skulls event very recently, and you may have spotted this first look at Sail. Take a look at this.
Okay, so I'm going to break down the video here. Because, well, I could do a separate video for it, but honestly, I think it's probably easier if I do it here. Remember I said I was going to do 3? This is the third one. chaos magic and chaos forces. Since he's dressed in animal skin, it's gotta be Norse. Look at the betrayal!
I mean, these trailers are just fantastic for us to watch. Break it down for us, though, Total. What have we actually seen in that trailer?
Yes.
So we saw the first significant moment of Sail's rise to power, and also a treachery. Because what happened...
Also, the creature you mentioned earlier, we saw its creation.
In this particular case, is that Sail was a part of a conclave of magicians, and they're conducting a special ritual. Unaware that Sail has, fiddled around with it for a bit. So it backfires, the ritual, because of Sail's treachery. And what happens is that the leader of the magicians, called Shalkane, and probably I'm butchering the name, I don't know, he is blown up to bits, only his teeth remain, and there become a battle ability for Sail further on. Whereas the other three spellcasters are fused into this hideous blob of moving flesh, specific kind of spawn that is called the Nightmare. And this is something that you will see Sail use in battles.
Now, these things, I mean, there's so much work that goes into creating them. When we start to concept them, how long does it take for us to get from that point to the finish line where they're looking as cool as we saw in Skulls?
Well, it's a quite long process, and actually everything starts with the brief from the game design team. We collect all the information we need, the research for Warhammer lore, and gathering...
Before I go into the details of what he said, of what he's saying, first I would like to say I was planning to do that as a separate part of the video, but since they did the thing with it, I was like, yeah, might as well do it with it. And second, about what this guy's saying, about the doing well-rounded research, that's always a good idea when you develop anything. When you're doing anything, even if it seems like you're creating something very easy, I highly recommend you do a lot of research. Fiddle around with a lot of things about it before you say yes to something. Because after you've done a ton of research, you realize how badly you were prepared to do it in the first place. And but the extra research will help convey a better, how do I say this, a better design of whatever you were doing, because it's much more refined, it's much more well thought out than it was before.
Miniature references, if there is any. After we collect all the information we need, the concept team start with a rough sketch representing the main visual features of the character. After the sketch is approved, we continue with the actual concept, where we create more detailed and accurate version of the character, including multiple view angles, material guides, stuff like that. And after that, the concept is actually ready to proceed with the modeling part, where we create the geometry and texture and materials for the in-game model. After that part, the character continues his journey to the skinning, rigging, animations, and VFX. So it's a quite long process. A lot of teams are involved, and it's a great team effort in general.
Now, one of the great privileges that we always have with these What's Next videos is the opportunity to talk about the craft of making a video game, because it's something that we love doing, but it's never easy. And I mean, that's always going to be true of art as well, isn't it, Stoyan? Like, what are the challenges that you bump into when you're trying to create something as immersive and diverse as the world that we have in Warhammer?
Well, I think the main challenge always is to keep the fine balance between multiple requirements, one of which is to keep all the assets true to the Warhammer lore and sources, in the same time to fit the already established visual style and technical requirements for the game, to be capable of performing all the actions and abilities.
Sounds like a very integral balancing act,
which are required by the game design, and in the same time looks cool. So yeah, all these things are kind of difficult to balance in some cases with some characters.
And already this DLC that we're creating now, it's taking shape. And it's stuff that we are really enjoying having a look at and playing with already. But when you guys are playing the builds that you have today, what are the things that are really making you smile and say, I can't wait for players to actually get hands-on with this?
Well, from my perspective, one of the things that really inspires me is the fact that I, as a Total War player, am one of the first to experience the entire thing of playing a campaign with Sail and seeing how his features have come together so that a particular type of experience can be achieved, and also then providing input on that experience. But if we're talking specifically about art, I love the battle animations of units. So what I do on most of my battles in the very beginning, before I've hit the start battle button, I just arrange my units and I do a pass over with the camera right by them to see how they roar or, you know, sharpen their weapons or whatever. This is something that I love, not only for Warhammer, but for any Total War game that I've played.
Wow.
It's actually one of my favorite aspects as well, to see something brought to life from a sketch that we've all worked to bring into existence, and then with the progression of how it appears without maybe the textures or maybe without animations, and then the animations appear. And because, well, for us in game design, we're focused over multiple aspects of the project itself, we're not always keeping in touch with the latest development, and it's occasionally brings a smile for me too when I'm doing testing of a feature or something else, to see a new animation added and it's something incredible, something great. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, and that's one of my favorite processes of this job actually as a whole.
There is literally a kind of magic in there, because for some of the units, what you know in the beginning is just the brief paragraph of text, and then months later you see the unit in the game.
Yeah.
And you say, oh my god, it's alive.
This
is what it is.
It looks awesome.
Yeah,
It's always a great feeling at the end.
And we're obviously so blessed as well, because there is so much creativity in our community and from our players. When we see art come from them, whether it's their own creations, whether it's mods, whether it's just tiny tweaks on what we've got, like, what is it that you see in our audience that inspires you, Stoyan?
Yeah, for me as an artist, it's always inspiring and interesting to see other artist representation of Warhammer units and characters, especially ones which don't have actual models, references. So in such cases, without such specific reference, it's very important for the artist to have great imagination and deep lore knowledge to be able to create this character in the best possible way. So I think that especially for the concept design, the imagination is very valuable trait, and I suggest to all aspiring artists to try to always create something new and different, not always everything else which is already there.
Now we have
6.2 something new and different.
6.2 on the horizon. There's going to be things that we still want to do before we get to update 7.0. But Total, what are those things?
So, as you mentioned, 6.2 right around the corner somewhere.
Okay.
In 6.2, we will be updating ancillaries in general in the game. Their effects, their trigger conditions, we'll likely be adding some new ones. We will be trying to find the balance between making those ancillaries that are perceived as, not as useful, making them more powerful, more prominent, but still retain the ones that are fan favorites, their unique status. These update to the ancillaries, we have been thinking about it for quite a while, and we've decided that now is the proper time to release it. And earlier in the year, we released 6.1, which brought about a significant update to Kislevite factions, to the gameplay of Kairos with a few additional units for Cathay. And we're really happy with it, because this was our way to address player feedback related back to the release of Shadows of Change, because these were the factions from the Shadows of Change. One thing that we did find out is that it took a significant effort to plan it, design it, develop it, test it, and then release it. So the next patches will be focused on some specific bits in the game. Of course, the auxiliary system is something that is quite far-reaching, but it is one of the features. And these are our plans in general for the future patches to focus on specific aspects of the game itself. One thing that we're doing in addition...
So it won't be just factions they'll be focusing on. That's actually a better way to do it. Aspects of the game really do need some help. I won't go into detail here, but the ancillaries was one of them, and maybe a little bit on the diplomacy. The diplomacy seems kind of wonky too, but yeah.
To the patches and the hotfixes, which are still recurring.
Diplomacy is always wonky.
Is the Proving Grounds. The Proving Grounds are this special kind of an arena where you can play a version of the game with some fixes and some changes in there, and you can give us your feedback. And this is the proper moment to thank our community for providing us with feedback on the campaign AI changes that we have done so far. Our main goal was to make the campaign AI more active, more challenging, so that you kind of meet some resistance in the later stages of your campaign. This makes it more engaging, more interesting. And it was really amazing to go through the feedback of the people playing actual playthroughs and telling us how things happened with them, telling their story. This is one of the challenges that we're facing, because a total war game, if you have to experience its entire campaign in actual environment, it takes a lot of time to complete.
Yes.
We don't have enough people over here to do sufficient amount of playthroughs for the Immortal Empires, where you can have, and you already have, more than 100 playable factions. Of course, the dev people are playing it, and our QA team, God bless the QA team, are playing the game too, and we're taking their feedback into account. But the Proving Grounds are a really priceless source of feedback. So please join them. Please give us your feedback. We'll take it into account. And we plan to do some more in this year, again, related to various aspects of the game, where such changes which will benefit the most from a lot of people playing them.
Okay, well, that's probably just about all the time that we've got for this particular What's Next video. Of course, our thanks to Todor, to Stoyanov, and to Vasil for joining me today to talk through all of these changes. But there you have it. Sale is our next legendary lord leading the forces of Norska. And of course, he's joining Dakala, who's marshalling the forces of Slanesh. There's still one more legendary lord for us to reveal, which we'll be doing in the next What's Next video, which we should have for you next month. In the meantime, do make sure you drop down to the comments below. Let us know what you think. What have you enjoyed hearing about today from the team? What's got you...
Okay, so go over into the channel and check it out yourselves. I'll leave a link to it in the description. If I haven't, just leave me a friendly reminder in the comment section and I'll get right on it. Alright, it was nice having you here, guys, but alas, it's time for me to go.